Hi, I'm Shannon from houseimprovements.com, and I just want to show you how to measure and cut and install the trim around your windows and doors. So basically what we've got here is a small bedroom. We've got a long, not so tall window over on this side, and we've got a closet door behind the camera area. So first of all, I'm just going to start with the window. I'll show you how to mark it out and measure it, and then we'll do the door, and then we'll go out and cut, come back and install it. So the first thing I would start out with is you always want your trim to leave a little bit of a reveal around the framework here. And I like to use about 1/4 of an inch. Some people will use 1/8, but I don't know, I'm used to using 1/4, so that's what I'm going to do. So what I do is in each corner of the window, I'm going to take a tape measure and a pencil, and I'm just going to measure back, put a little mark at 1/4 of an inch. And this will just assist, once I have the trim in here, just assist lining it up. If you had a sliding little T-square or something, you could set it at 1/4 and go around and mark everything either way. We've got the blinds still on in this case, so we've got to work around them a little bit, but not a big deal. So I'm just going to simply go around, put some little marks where 1/4 inch is, so that we know when we're putting the trim on that that's where I need to line up to before I nail it. So I don't know, I'm going every couple feet or something like that, just to give you a guideline. Okay, so we've gone around, marked all our reveal at 1/4 inch, and we've got that done. Now we're going to measure, take the actual measurements for the window. So because I know what my reveal is, I can add that onto my measurement. So I'm simply just going to measure from the inside edges of the frames, top and bottom, side to side, and then add 1/2 inch, which will give the 1/4 inch on each reveal. So what I'm actually getting is a measurement. If this is your piece of trim with the miters cut on it, I'm actually getting these two short corners are the 2 points that I'm getting the measurements for. Okay, so like I said, I'm just butting into the inside of the upper jamb. I've got 26 inches there, so I'm going to make that 26.5. I'm just going to write that down. Okay, so 26.5. Now I'm going to measure from the inside of this side casing to the inside of that side casing. I'll just come right over here, and I've got 85.1/2. Okay, so that makes it 86. I'll just double check that the top and this other side are the same. They should be. That one's 26. I'll just grab a stool, check the top. That's 85.5. So yeah, all the measurements are the same. Generally they should be, but you know, if you're dealing with maybe an older window or something that's out of square, they could possibly be different. If it's not too much different, then you're better off to cut all your pieces the same so that your actual miters line up properly and everything looks right. You can kind of cheat a little bit on your reveal if you need to make it seem square. Okay, so we're over at the closet. We've got an opening here. This is sliding doors when it's finished. So same thing, I'm going to use the 1/4 inch reveal. So I'm just going to mark that out over here on the side jamb in a few spots. And again, this is just a guide so that you can line everything up and try to keep it straight. And obviously the trim is going to go right down to the floor. And then this trim is coming up to here. And actually I'm just going to mark this down here. Okay, down this side. And this will all get painted up nice when we're done. Okay, so now measurement wise. So now that I've got those marks there, I can also use those if you want as your reference point if you're not, you know, not wanting to do the math or whatever. So on the door, like I said, the trim's going to sit right down on the floor, and I can just simply measure up to my first mark near this corner. So I've got 78 and 1/8. And I always draw myself just a quick little sketch. So I've got my door frame, 78, and what the heck did I say now? $78 and 1/8. Sometimes these will be different, so that's why I draw myself the little map. Check this side. Yeah, and see this one's 78 and 1/4. So I'll mark that on my little picture. Now I want to measure for the header piece. So I'm going to measure inside to inside just like I did on the window, add 1/2 inch. And that should be okay. So I've got 46 and 1/8, so I'm going to make that 46 and 5/8 to the short point. And I'll mark that on my map. If you kind of have a system and you use that, like always measure from the same places, always write the numbers, you know, to the inside short points, whatever your system is, do that all the time, then you shouldn't have as many problems. If you start switching your system around, then you're just going to mix yourself up. So I've got the measurements for all those. I think we can go out and cut them up and bring them back. Okay, so the trim we're going to be installing today is an MDF molding. It's painted white. It's about a 3 1/4 inch profile. There's lots of different ones to choose from, so it really doesn't matter on what trim you've chosen. The basic concept of measuring, cutting, and installing it basically should be the same. So this is just a chunk of what we're going to put in. Beforehand, just to make it simpler so I wasn't swinging 14-foot long pieces of trim around the camera and cameraman, I just roughly cut it to a reasonable length that's easier to deal with. So what I'm going to do, I guess I'm going to cut the door first, just because I've got that trim sitting here right on the edge of the table first. So as you remember, you picture a door frame. We've got a right side, a left side, and then the piece that goes across the header. So really doesn't matter what you cut first, to be quite honest. I'm going to cut the right-hand side. So you always want to make sure that the bottom edge that's on the floor was cut straight, especially in this case we're going down on hardwood floor. On carpet it's not as noticeable because you're pushed down into the carpet a little bit. So that's going to be my bottom edge. I'm just going to lay it here by the saw, and I wanted 78 and 1/8. So I'm hooking right on the bottom edge. I'm measuring on the inside edge of the profile. This side, this is the outside, this is the inside. Okay? So all my measurements were taken to the inside edges. So I'm going to measure up that 78 and 1/8. And I'm going to put a pencil line right on the edge here. Okay? Now, that cut is going to be, that's a 90-degree turn in the trim. So we want to basically take 90 degrees divided in half, which is 45 degrees. So you're going to take and set your saw to 45 degrees. Remember, I'm cutting the, when you're facing the door frame, I'm cutting the right-hand side right now as you face it. So make sure you got the saw going the right direction so that you get, you got the right side, not the left side. And I've got my pencil mark down there. I can, if you're not 100% sure, you can kind of get right down here and just, without obviously turning the saw on, you can kind of eyeball yourself up, get yourself close. If anything, you want to be just a hair long. Make your first cut, and then you can always shorten it up a little bit after. Once you've cut it too short, you're usually hooped. You're not going to stretch the wood. So cut it, that'd be a good hint, especially the first few cuts. Cut it a little bit longer. You can always nibble a little more off afterwards. So I'm going to make this cut. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this piece of scrap so it doesn't cause us any problems on the saw. And I am just maybe a 1/16 long. So I'm going to slide this over just a hair, take that off. Okay, so that should be good. So this would be my right-hand side as I'm facing the doorway. Notice how the angle is. Okay, pretty basic. So we've got that piece cut. I'm going to cut now the left-hand side. Make sure my bottom's square. And I'm going to measure on the inside. This one was 78 1/4. Placing my mark right on that edge because that's the point that we actually measured to on the frame there inside. Now I obviously can't cut it this way or it's going to be the miter's going to be going the wrong way, so I would need to rotate the saw around to 45 degrees the other direction. Get things lined up so that I'm close. Okay, my hands are back. That's another video we should do, is proper use of a miter saw, but anyways, just make sure your hands are back. Get rid of our scrap piece, and that cut was good. I was right on the line there. You can just faintly see it possibly. I don't know if you can zoom in that close, but anyways. You can see it's right on, so that's our left side. Now our next piece, a little bit trickier, but not rocket science. This is our header piece, so it's going to have a miter on each end. So we need to start out with a miter to have a place to measure from. So I'm going to just do it on this end here. So I'm just going to line up the saws so I get a nice miter, 45 degrees. Okay, so this will give us a point to measure from. Now this is always a little tricky. One way of doing it is if you have a bench like this or a table or something where you can stretch your tape out right beside the trim and it can sit there without falling off, it makes it a lot easier. The measurement we're looking for is 46 5/8. So a little trick here. I'm going to actually set this end of my tape at 48 5/8, which is 2 inches longer than we wanted. The reason for that is then I can go down to this end, and at the 2-inch mark I can make my pencil line. If you were to line this up at the 46 5/8 right out on this point right down here, if you were to do that, now I've got to come back here and you're trying to guess exactly where that is. It's just easier to line it up right on an increment, right on the tape measure. So each to their own, whatever you want to do, but that's what I do. Okay, so now we've got our miter this way. On this other end we need to turn the saw. And this is where some people will get confused, making sure they've got the angle going the right direction. Same as before, just going to get down, get myself lined up real close. Like I said, if anything a little long, make my cut. Okay, and again we're right on there, so there's no need to make another cut. So there's our header piece. It's got a miter on both ends. So obviously, just to give you the idea, when you're facing at the right-hand end, these pieces are going to go together like that. Okay, so there's our door pieces cut. We're just going to set those to the side, and then I'm going to get the window piece going. So now all of the window pieces in this case are going to have a 45 or a miter at each end. Okay, so we've got to get ourselves to that point where we can measure. So we need to get one miter started on the end. And I'm actually going to do that on every piece here, right off the start. Okay, so I've got them all started. So we have a miter on one end. We need to do that measurement. and it's very similar to the head piece we did on the other one. These longer ones are going to be 86. So I'm, like I did before, I'm going to actually stretch this right out to 88, which is 2 inches longer. And then mark at the 2-inch spot. Should be right there. Okay, and that's going to be my cut on that one. So now all these rest of these cuts are going to be from the other end of the board. I need to turn the saw. Now when you're using the miter saw, you want to make sure you've got your wood pushed right back against the fence and tight down. You know, you don't want it on an angle or it's going to throw the actual angle you're trying to cut off. Okay, that one's good. So I think you get the idea here. I'm just going to show you once more this measuring thing. So we wanted 86. Like I've said 100 times now, I mark it 2 inches longer, or don't mark it, but I place my tape 2 inches longer at this end, and then I mark it at 2 inches here. Just going to make sure nothing moved. We should be good. Okay, so just do that on the remainder of your pieces, and then we'll be right back inside to show you how to install it. Okay, so we're back inside. Something that's probably worth mentioning is obviously you just watched me cut that on with a sliding compound miter saw. Not everybody's going to have one of those. It's not 100% necessary that you have one to do this job. If you're going to do a lot of windows, I'd recommend at least borrowing or renting one. It's sure going to save you a lot of time, but you could certainly cut that with just with a wooden miter box and a handsaw. That'd be kind of your other option. Really, skill saw or anything like that really isn't going to do a very nice job. But if you got a miter box, like a handheld miter box with a handsaw, you can definitely do it like that. And to do 2 or 3 windows, whatever, probably wouldn't be that big of a deal. If you're doing 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever, a bunch of baseboard or something, you're probably going to want to either invest in one or borrow an electric miter box. So we've got that. We've got our trim inside. I'm going to use a brad nailer, which is air powered brad nailer to attach these trims. You could also hand nail this with finishing nails. Again, just depends on how much of this you're going to do. Seems like lots of people have the brad nailers now in a compressor, so you may be able to even just borrow one. So we're going to start out, basically I'm going to hold the trim in place. I'm going to be nailing through this area of the trim right into the door frame. And after I get that all tacked into place, then we'll nail a little further out back into the wall if need be. You know, if it's a little floppy or something. So I'm using 1 3/16" nails. It's really going to depend on the thickness of your trim. But basically, like here I've got about a 1/2 inch of thickness in the trim here. So I want to be at least 3/4 of an inch into the wood, or you know, whatever you're nailing into. So I'm using 1 3/16". So pretty simple. Just sit this right down on the floor, lining it up with your pencil mark that you had down there. Slide the top over, line it up with the pencil mark you had up here. Put a nail in about 2 inches down. Okay, so that's basically going to hold that standing there. Now just work your way along looking for the pencil marks that you had. Placing a nail at or near each one. Okay, just like that. So we've got our first side piece tacked into place. Now what I'm going to do is put the header piece across there. And what I'm also going to do is add a bit of glue at this miter that we're going to form right here. So this piece is just going to sit right on top. Good idea just to double check that your measurements or your cuts are good. Which this one isn't. Actually about 1 inch long. So I'll have to recut that. All right, so I went out and cut this to the right length this time, and we'll just double check now. That's a lot better. We'll just stand this up there and get an idea. Yeah, everything should be okay. So see, even I can make mistakes. Okay, so we've got that double checked. As I said before, we're going to put a bit of glue on this miter just to help hold things together a little bit better. So I'm going to set it up on there. I'm going to get this corner all nice, as nice as I can. That. Now, I'm just going to make sure that height-wise everything works out fine. Should be okay there. I'm going to put a nail in the middle, just like so. Okay, so we've got that started there. Actually, something else you want to do, I'll have to do it from the top. If you can see here on this corner, everything is not quite lining up the way it should as far as flush across here. So I'm going to pull them out flush and carefully put a brad nail down through the top just to help hold them. Just like that. So now they're nice and flush. Okay, going back to this corner, I'm going to put some glue on the top of this miter, on this side piece. You don't need a whole bunch of glue there, but just a little bit of a bead there. I'll stand this in place. We want to line this miter up here as best as it will. Okay, just like that, and then we're just going to work our way down the door frame using the marks we had put on there. So I don't know, I'm nailing about every 15, 16 inches apart. We just want to make sure it's on there well. And again, I'm going to go up and nail that corner, flush these up. Just like that. Got a little bit of glue squirting out there. Okay, so we've got that on there. You can see things are a little bit, there's a little bit of movement there, so I'm going to switch to some longer nails. The reason I'm going longer is the trim is slightly thicker out on this edge, plus I've got to go through the drywall before I hit any framing. So I'm basically going through about 1.25 inches of material before I actually get back to the framing that I want to attach to. And I'm not going to go crazy on the nails here, but I'm going to place one about 6 inches up from the floor, one about in the middle here, and one a foot or so down, just to strengthen this up a little bit. We've got the door jamb right here. We've got a little bit of space, and then we've got 1.5 inches of wood here. So I should be able to nail right along the side of this rib without any problems and hit into some wood. Okay, same thing across the top, just a couple. Just like so. Okay, now before I go to the window, I'm going to show you just here on the door. What I like to use is a wall repair compound, just like a little container wall patch. And I fill all my nail holes and touch up the miter joints here. Because this is painted, but the inside is a brown color, it doesn't take much of a crack here to show through brown right away. So I just simply put a little bit on my finger, just go over to the nail hole, give it a rub and a wipe with a different finger. Really easy to do. With this stuff, if you do this, there's no point in sanding after. If you get it wiped off really nice with your other finger, then when that dries, you can come back and touch up all the paint on that. So that's what I do on the nail holes. On this joint up here, really the same thing, just use my finger to smear it in here. If I used a putty knife or something like that to try to smooth this around, it's just going to scratch the trim more. So that's why I use a finger. My finger will go and shape to the contour of the trim as well, a little bit better. So I just put it on fairly liberally. Make sure I get all my cracks filled in. And then wipe it off. If you have a damp rag, you can give it a quick wipe with a damp rag too to get off the excess. And again, if you get it cleaned off good enough, there's no point in doing any sanding afterwards. So it just makes it look better. Now I can go back and paint that when I'm done, touch everything up. Also, another thing I like to do is in this corner here where I've left the reveal all the way around, I'll take a latex caulking and just put a small bead of caulking in here. Just if you get any spaces or any gaps or anything, it just seals it off. When you've got it all painted up, it just looks like this is all one piece, and it just makes a really clean, nice looking look. So obviously this frame needs to be painted again anyway, so I will caulk this, paint everything up, and it'll look really good. Okay, so that's the door frame. We're going to just flip to the other side of the room, do the window, and go from there. Okay, so just to speed things up, I've already attached the top piece of casing there. And really this is a lot like what you just watched me do on the door. We've got our side pieces. I'm going to simply glue the corners. I can get some glue out of here. So I want to slide it up into position into the top one that's already there. Get my miter lined up. I've switched back to the shorter nails again. Okay, I just stuck 3 nails in there. So now I'm just going to go over to the other side, just get this one hanging in place. So again, though, I need some glue. Just going to zip over here. Okay, and I haven't put the bottom nail in, so that way I can still move this a little bit if I need to adjust for the length of this bottom piece. I'm going to put some glue on the bottom piece ends, I should say. Like that. And then I'll go over to this end. If you can just hold that end up for me. This piece is kind of long, so I'm just getting some assistance to hold that end up. And I'm going to get this end lined up and in place. And then I can come over to this side. And I can MacGyver this into place. Like that. Now I can just go along my bottom, get my bottom all lined up for my reveal. Okay. I'm going to switch to the longer nails. Above the window, I'm going to have a header up there so I can, I should be able to have lots of wood to nail into. Okay, just like that. This side here is being a little stubborn. Okay. So we've got that nailed into place. And like I said before, we can run a bead of caulking in here afterwards. In this case, on this window, it's actually pretty nice, pretty tight to the window at this end, and I've probably got an 1/8 inch or better gap down there. So, that's where the caulking comes in nicely to finish that up. I'll go back and line these corners all up, put a nail in the corners, and then that should be all done. So I'll just quickly do that. I'm going to switch back to the shorter nails. I just want to do it before the glue, before the glue starts drying. Already started to set up there a little bit. Okay, so all I have to do now is go around, fill in the nail holes, fill in the miters, make them look good, do that caulking, and then give it a coat of paint, touch up all the paint, and I'd be complete. So, you know, if you're using a molding that's not painted, maybe you're using oak or maple or something that's stained, it's really the same idea, although when you're doing your filling, you're going to want to color match the putty that you're using to whatever color you've got the trim stained or finished in. But basically the process is all the same. So I think we've pretty much covered all the bases, and we've got lots of other videos on our YouTube channel, on our website at houseimprovements.com. We've also got some articles, so there's links there through to the videos as well. To get to YouTube. We do have the forum page on the website that you can go to and ask any questions that you might have, and myself or somebody else on there will do our best to answer them as quickly as we can. So I think as far as installing window and door trim, I think that pretty much gives you the basic idea what you got to do, and thanks for watching.